find Facebook works very well for me. Some people do not like Facebook, do not like dealing with Facebook, don't feel it works as well. However, since I write first person and I write comedy, and I'm bizarre enough as it is, I just tell stories on Facebook, and so it works very well for me. I do probably like 5 or 6 times a day, about 10 minutes.
Really?
Unless it's, yeah, seriously, you can just, and I have all this stuff usually prepped before.
Yeah.
I don't use any kind of program that posts for me, because since Facebook is a really good marketing tool for me, people know if I'm not there. Like Twitter hurts me, and I do it but I use a program to put Twitter up. I tried to do Instagram when I remember, but Facebook is, so yeah, and I have groups. I have groups of people who really like my books, so there are private groups, and but I'm not there nearly as much.
But not
as
just
think.
you, like I noticed like the Outlander writer. Same thing. Bam, bam, bam.
Some people have, I don't. Some people have an assistant that can log in as who they
Oh,
are.
okay, and they're
But
taking care of it.
I will tell you that when I see that, I can tell.
You can?
Tell. I can tell. And I do have somebody that I work with, but she does not
Post
answer
for
for
you?
me or post for me. All those crazy faces right now that you're seeing,
Yeah.
she's doing those on, I don't know what program it is, 57
Those are
million people.
hilarious.
They're awesome.
But they're really good because they keep people interested. I can
Boom,
say,
boom. It's a
yeah,
craft.
I'm like,
It's a
it
craft.
sparks my mind right away about
Uh-huh.
your books.
Well, because I write paranormal, there I'm as a werewolf.
Yeah, they're
you know, all
so
that kind of
funny.
stuff.
Yeah.
And I have no pride, clearly, because I don't care what. Like Chris, I'm doing it. Chris didn't want me to wear my bra. Boom.
Oh.
Okay. That's because I have no pride. But I don't spend as much time on there as you think I do. But I
It's a
do
great
it,
tool.
I do
It is a great marketing
sporadically.
tool.
I do it. You get a book.
Oh, I get a book?
And that'll be a good break when you need to step away from
Yeah, it does, because it's mindless. The other thing I do is I play Soda Candy Crush. Which
What level are you on? Are you like on level 2
I'm
now?
not telling anybody. I am not telling anybody.
be up there.
I just got a new phone and had to start over.
I did.
That brings
Oh,
my-
that's sad. That drives me
That
nuts.
hurts me. No, that's mindless for me, because my mind races, and so that helps me. How do you do what you do, Pookie?
Robin makes me.
I do. You know what?
Does she really?
I'm not even making that up.
What's my
I
name?
believe it.
What's my
Because
name?
Robin is the boss of everyone.
I believe it.
Because,
They had no
because,
idea
because the
before you said
reason I got into writing is that I'm a hermit. I'm a geek. I'm a nerd. I like my computer. I want to just be with my stories. And so to do social media, I'm just like, oh, social media.
She hates it.
And so I have to work at it. And Robin's like, you haven't been down there all week. Go out there and do something today. You know. And so she like monitors my, am I out there or not? And she will write me, text me until I post. So Robin is the reason I post. But I mean, it is important because that's where your fans are. That's where the readers are. Readers want to hear from you.
That's the commerce part of the art commerce. It's the marketing part.
Yeah.
So I
Make it as enjoyable as you can.
yes.
You know, I have fun with it.
And my
You're
readers are
starting
great.
to. You're doing.
My readers are great. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
they're-
not that I don't love my readers. I love my readers. I will answer email. This is something I'm doing. My readers write me because they've learned that I will answer email off my newsletter. And so I answer probably 5 to 10 emails a day. I can do that all day long. That to me is so much easier than posting on Facebook and coming up with a picture and trying to see how many people saw it and whether I need to promote it. Oh no, I'll write you back. Just write me.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't mind Facebook. I have teenage kids, I have animals. You know, Robin and I are a little similar in that. I mean,
Yeah,
we've got
we love
stuff that
farms.
happens in our life all the
Oh
time
my
that,
God, with the
you know.
animals. Yeah.
I didn't even put that on Facebook, so I'm not gonna worry about it.
All right.
But Facebook is easy for me. Twitter, not so much. Instagram, but you got to do it. I get a lot of emails too, and emails are okay, but Facebook is an easy social media for me.
I get a lot of emails where people ask me if I'm worried about my soul and letting me know I'm going to hell.
Really? Do you really?
Seriously?
Oh,
yes.
gosh, yeah. Yeah.
Do you tell him, yeah, you're going to hell?
I No, you know what? I ignore those because I get I get more really lovely ones, like
Yeah.
that some make me cry.
Yep.
Aw.
But no, I got a couple of ladies in there that good. I did write back to one. I finally said, "This is fiction.
Yeah.
I don't think you understand it, and it would probably be better if you stopped buying my books." I
Did
did.
you really? Good.
I was done. But I don't know what she's doing. Anyway, Christy.
Facebook. I use a program. I was like, what was the question? I do use a program for Facebook that schedules things out, but it schedules them more out in like my reader group and on my public profile page, and then my personal page, I'm always in there. That's always me. I do like Twitter and I love Instagram.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I kind of like all of them. I mean, I play around with Snapchat with my daughter, although some of the Snapchat stuff is, a lot of fun. Instagram stories, I think, are really cool, and you see a lot more marketing going on there. I mean, some of those things, there's always something new.
There
We
is.
always,
It's
like from a
always
marketing
changing.
standpoint, here's my little marketing speech. It's a moving target, so you always really kind of have to stay up on what's going on, what's new, and what's kind of hip, and some of it works, and then some of it fizzles out. Some of it's so huge that Facebook wants to buy it. So, but I mean, yeah, but I do have a scheduler for certain things, and that's great, and it kind of rotates.
What are you using?
through.
Meet Edgar?
I use Meet Edgar.
Yeah.
Do you use Meet Edgar?
I use Meet
too?
Edgar.
Yeah. There was another author.
I use it only for Twitter though.
Yeah, there was another. You can schedule it, and it'll let you like pick what you wanna, and you can use. So how many accounts? You like 5?
Oh,
I
I think
you
more
can-
than that.
10. You can put in
Lot.
like 10 different places, and then it sort of randomly picks things for you. There's an author named Mark Dawson who is like a marketing guru, and we met him at a conference this time last
Fall.
year.
Yeah, in Florida.
And he's the one who talked about Meet Edgar, and so I went in and looked it up and did a little trial, and I liked it. And sometimes I take a break from it when I don't have a ton of books, so it's just not like inundated with just stuff from me, because there's a ton of noise out there, and it's really hard. And if you're just creating, more noise instead of if you're part of the problem and not the solution, it just makes it harder for people to find,
Good stuff.
the good message that you're trying to get across to begin with. So,
And then you also have to remember that it takes people a couple of times of seeing stuff before it even sinks in.
yeah.
So Chris is 100% right. Moving target, constantly changing, and that's like the publishing industry as well. But Heather,
The one thing I have problem with social media is I'm not on social media as much as maybe Robin. I'm definitely not on Facebook as much, but I spread myself out so that I'm present everywhere. And of course, I will get a notification anytime a friend or a reader comments or messages me, and I want to always be present there. But I'm trying to be very careful of getting sucked into doing too much social media, because I'm not convinced that that's what's selling my books currently. And it's definitely keeping me from getting word count in. So there's definitely a balance you have to keep. And you can get sucked into social media and, 4 hours are gone. So, and I think everyone in the world knows that, it's whatever business you're in. And so I'm trying very hard not to do that.
I could watch those food videos where they make, like the whole recipe.
I do.
And it's like the
scroll
overhead
through.
shot. Yeah, it's the overhead shot, and you're like watching them like, I can do this forever.
I could go through
they immediately
Instagram
like go
all
into the,
day
oh
long.
yeah. It's
I mean,
terrible.
I
I gotta
would
turn
just
it off.
scroll. I could pick a hashtag on Instagram. I'm redoing my kitchen. I have a 16-year-old, or I've been in my house 16 years, and we're finally redoing the kitchen. And I'm scrolling through houses and kitchens. I'm like, oh, we could do that, And I mean, 4 hours are gone. And Mike's like, what'd you do today? I picked out a kitchen.
Research.
Research.
There's gonna be a
It's all
fabulous picture
research.
in the next book I write.
Dude, I realized I was watching like cat and dog videos, and 2 hours had gone by. I was like, what the? Hey, just happened here, and it can't. No, if you have to parse it, you have to be smart with it, I wouldn't say that I have anything personal on Facebook, not my personal page, not my author page, not my groups. Everything is marketing to a certain degree. I think probably a lot of people feel like they know me really well. They don't. They know part of me, the part that I would be willing. My husband is a high-profile actor, so I'm careful about, super personal stuff, my children and stuff like that. But, I write comedy. Most of what I slap up there is pretty funny or silly or goofy or self-deprecating.
It goes along pretty much with your
With my
titles, and I think it does suck you into wanting to read the book.
Which is why Facebook tends to work for me.
Yeah,
People want to laugh.
yeah,
I think people want to laugh right now in general.
Sure.
yeah.
So,
If you
That's-
went up and down the table and asked us what we thought sold our books, you'd probably get five
have
different
different answers.
answers.
Well, that's a good thing. I think I have a healthy newsletter list, and I think Facebook does a lot for me. And cross-promotion with other authors in my genre. Donna, your turn.
I would say email for me,
Yeah.
and then second, I would say Facebook.
Okay.
Well, even though I do have a large Pinterest account, if there's one social media
She likes Pinterest.
I would do, it would be Pinterest.
Mhm.
I love Pinterest.
They have good kitchens.
They do.
Jen?
Newsletter and cross promotion's a big one for me.
Chris?
Newsletter, cross promotion, probably. I'm gonna say the last book I wrote sells the next book for me.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
So,
good.
Yeah.
I'm always careful to make sure that I'm not putting anything out too quickly or too irresponsibly. I want every book that I put out to be better than the last, because I never want to get a review that says, well, this one was okay, but it wasn't as good as our last book.
Mhm.
And you're going to get it anyway, but in my own heart, I know that that's just not true, because I've put out a quality product. So for me, continuing to write and making sure that I'm doing something, writing a good book every time, because good books sell more books.
Heather?
We haven't touched on this, but besides my newsletter, making a first book free in a series.
Lost Leaders.
Yeah, I mean, every one of my series, the first book is free on any ebook.
Ebook, yeah.
And it always it'll lead you to the next book in the series.
Yeah,
Hopefully,
actually-
that'll lead you to another series.
Raise
or-
your hand if you do Lost Leaders. I think we all
We
do.
all have a free book.
Yeah, it's-
Or more than
it's-
one.
Or more than one, right?
Yeah, I have on all three of my series.
In ebook.
In ebook, not our
So
paperback.
if you go to our websites, you're gonna see the free books we offer to get started on the series.
And then
It's our
hopefully
free
they suck you
trial.
in
Try
and you
me out.
continue.
It's like a hot
From
coach.
this perspective,
Yeah.
I think that's how I started reading you, was I was looking for something
Try it
to
out,
read.
see if you
It was
like it.
free. If I don't like it, I didn't put any money out. And I would say that at the time, and I don't know how many I had out at the time, but I would say after reading that first book, I had probably bought everything else within 2 or 3 months.
I
And
love
then I'm
you.
looking for your
I love
things.
you.
And so I'm looking for your free books to see if I like,
Yes.
if I like
And
that
that's
series.
what
And I'll
And
read the whole
that's
series.
the point of a lost
That's the
leader.
point of it.
Some authors will completely disagree with that theory.
Yes.
And that's fine. But I look at what works for me. I always try to learn from what's going on around all of us. We all do. We're here's what also I didn't realize initially. We are very lucky, my
Yes.
friends and I up here, because this doesn't always happen at all. I thought all women writers were like these women that I had met. And then I started going to cons and meeting different people, and they're not. They're not. This is a unique group of women who actually, I like women who are happy for other people's success, who are supportive. This is it. And it's loaded, bizarrely enough, Lexington, Kentucky, with some really hiney writers. You're like, that's that dude. I haven't said one bad
We
word
are so
yet.
glad.
Thank you. But what we have is unique
Yes.
and very, very.
And we have honorary Kentucky people that.
Yeah, we do.
That, kind of have the same mentality, and our setup is not like anybody else that I've ever seen anywhere.
Yeah.
So,
How did you guys all meet? Did you
You
meet
came
in
in
a
little
writer's
late,
group?
Judy.
or-
Yeah, we met in a writer's group.
That's what I wondered.
We did, and we all kind of came in different ways.
Jennifer was president of RWA when I joined back, I came back a second time. I was in RWA for like 15 years.
Romance Writers of America.
Okay, great.
And they were, that's where I learned craft. everything I
Yes.
know about craft. I could still tell you,
I still tell people to go, if they can, and join a group.
and the number of words per line,
Right.
you know, I memorized all those. So everything craft I learned from them, but what they couldn't do was get inside my head and say, well, you need to write something mainstream, something everyone else is writing. Because that's what businesses have to invest in, what they have to invest in. And when I came back to romance and really started writing, I wanted to write older characters, which wasn't being done. Not just older characters, I wanted to write 40-year-olds and 50-year-olds who were actually having an intimate relationship, which wasn't being done. And so nobody would touch my books. And they said, oh, well, you're a good writer, but I'm not gonna do this. And so I
wanted
made
a 20-year-old heroine.
so I made my
Yeah.
first series, my first book, free, because I thought, if they like it, they'll come get the second book, and if they don't, what have I lost? Nothing. And so my reviews tended to be higher, and my people who stayed with me tended to be really dedicated people. It was the win-win for me in writing, and I thought, well, I'm going to do this, and so I've done it in several series now, and it's still one of the better things I do, because it allows people to try
Mm-hmm.
a book and try a series, and if they like you, then they'll come and they'll write, get the rest. And I write, in between my contemporary romances with older characters and my science fiction, that's a pretty broad range. So, you know, so it's just that free book is a good way to do it.
I actually have 2 books free because I screwed up. So the first novella I wrote the first book, and we have a buddy, her name's Callie, Calypso Masters. And she's like, oh, readers love prequels, you ought to write a prequel with that. And it's like, that is a good idea. So I had written the first book, the first romance, and then I wrote the prequel, which is the 3 guys, how they met and how they were injured. But the screw up is, it's not romance. It's technically kind of military fiction.
Yeah, it's an introduction
So-
into a series.
Yeah.
You got to know the characters.
And when you're promoting to romance readers, it doesn't really appeal as much as the romance does, obviously. So the first 2 books are free for me. And
But that's
best
worked out
thing
well
I
for
ever
you.
did.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. Questions, my friends?
I still got questions.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So,
let's go.
Is that a book?
going,
We got plenty of
That's
them,
paper,
yeah.
you got anything you need
You
to
guys can get one
hold
of my
down at the
towels.
house?
so going back to the beginning.
No. Okay, yes.
Okay, going back to the beginning, you got your first book or first couple of books written. What is your advice to someone to say, all right, how does that person, they don't have the social media presence, they don't have the business knowledge to market and to price it and to sell it, what would your recommendation be to those people?
Wait,
Fake it.
here's where you're,
Fake
none of us had
None
that.
of us
Yeah.
had it.
I didn't even,
So what did you do?
Chris helped me
We
set up
talked
a
to
Facebook
people.
account. Yeah, Chris was like, it was like teaching a 90-year-old woman to play Nintendo. I didn't have anything, nothing.
And I failed over and over again, and then I went and told the group, don't do this. okay?
This is
Try
what we
this,
did.
Don't do
You need
this.
to find a writer's group. I mean, you find a group of people, whether it be through your library, because I know Seth was saying they have writing groups right here. And you know, that's how you learn, and you have to read. There are, what's Conrad's blog? Writer-
A newbie's guide to
Newbie's Guide to
self-publishing.
Newbie's Guide to Self-Publishing. There are outstanding, we all just educate, we had nothing. Chris knew marketing, she did it in the background. You know, so we've picked from Chris, but we've also seen what works for Chris isn't gonna necessarily work for me, or what works for me isn't gonna work for Donna. You figure it out, and it is a moving target, and it does change all the time. But starting with no knowledge is sometimes a whole lot of power. And let me tell you why, because you have no clue what you're not supposed to do. And sometimes doing what you're not supposed to do is absolutely outstanding.
Yep.
So it's just,
I mean, you can take out
I would say
ads
balls, right?
online. If you want to pay Facebook, or you want to pay Instagram, or you want to pay Twitter, you can pay them. They'll take your money, and you
Right.
can put, you know, a synopsis of your book up, and then pretty cover of your book up, and then it'll lead people to wherever they click on that button, and leads them to wherever you want to take them, to your Amazon page, to your website, where they can find all the information about you and
need
buy
a
your
Facebook
books.
page, you
and-
need a website. Most of these you can do for free too, and then as you get more established, you can pay somebody to do something fancier. An Amazon author page, you just set it up once you have a book for sale. There are things, it's just about, it's a checklist of things, but I tell you what, joining a writer's group to talk like this, to bang ideas off with, that is invaluable, and you can't pay for that.
And we had writers in our Kentucky romance writers group that was not romance writers.
Right, we
So
did.
we had biography people, and we had.
What did Pam write? Pam wrote
historical
horror, and, you know,
mysteries.
yeah.
I mean,
We tried to stay with people who wanted to sell, because if you're a literary writer, like you're gonna write a book of poetry, you may not sell that. You may submit it for awards.
Magazines, anthologies, that kind of stuff.
Because I have a master's in English, and my writing teacher would probably be appalled if she knew I actually went through with my plans. But I am happy
Should be
with what
damn
I've
proud
written.
of you.
But I'm just saying that we in our group, we kind of focused on people who had commercial interests, let's say, that wanted to sell. And so with that groundwork there,
And we
then
were
we
all
all
doing
had
it
the same
full-time.
goals.
Full-time.
Yeah, then we have the same goals. So, but there are great books too. The other thing you can do is on Amazon, you can look up how I published this, and you just read the reviews and look at those books. And they're $2.99. They're $3.99.
podcasts.
Podcasts.
There's some awesome podcasts. Joanna Penn.
Yeah.
The Creative Penn podcast.
That's
is
probably my favorite.
amazing.
Yeah, that's a good one. The other thing too is you listen to everything you hear with a super respectful disrespect. Just because we're saying it up here, what worked for us, doesn't even mean it's correct for you or right. Don't say you guys are full of poo, but you know, you learn a little bit. I take a little bit from all different articles I read, all podcasts I listen to,
Yep.
even our information to each other. Donna could say,
Oh, yeah.
hey, blah, 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 blah. And I would be like, that sounds good for you, that doesn't sound good for me. You know,
Mhm.
that's,
Genres are very different.
genres are
Genres
different.
are
Yeah, yeah,
very
yeah.
different.
And the
Yeah.
readers are different.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's
You know,
true.
Yes.
One thing I would say, if you're just starting out, if you have nothing, no
platform.
foundation whatsoever, I would start with a website, even if it's just a landing page.
There are free ones.
Yeah,
Well, if
it
he's
tells you a
blogging,
little bit
you
about
know
your
that.
book, about you,
Yeah.
and then I would have a newsletter sign up. Because even if you're only getting one or two, and it might be, you know, family members at first.
It's one or
you
two
want-
more than you had before.
Yeah, and it's one place to collect names that you get to own.
Those are free,
Yeah, and those are free.
up to 2,000.
Yeah. And I would have
Mail
that.
process.
And then
Yeah.
do, yeah, and you know, you start communicating, choose either one or two social media that you like and do well.
Well,
Sometimes
blogging,
doing
you
all
said
of
you
them-
already blog. You start to blog about your journey in trying to figure this stuff, perhaps not a bad word, crap, out. See me, I teach kids too, so I know how to not swear, but when I start talking about writing and comes out, that would be freaking awesome. If you were like, I don't know anything, I listened to these 5 crazy broads the other day, and dang it, I'm doing it, and you're gonna see every mistake I make. I'd wanna hear about that guy. I wanna see what his finished product would be. I think that would be interesting.
So-
You had your hand up here.
Do you guys use Goodreads?
I do. Yeah, Goodreads is a scary place.
Scary.
Well, for authors.
For authors it is.
It's had a lot of troll problems.
In the beginning, Goodreads was different. It was.
Back in the old days.
Back in the old days, how I was successful with it is that in the beginning, they allowed you to invite all your Facebook friends, and I thought, they like me. So I invited basically my Facebook friends to Goodreads, and so majority of the people who follow me are based off of them. So my experience with Goodreads varies a little bit from the average authors, because I started out in a different place. Now, Amazon owns it, is that right?
Yes,
Yeah.
that's correct.
Amazon owns it, so there's a bias there underneath. that wasn't there when I started with it.
It's a scary place for me.
Thing is, I have a Goodreads page, my books are on it. I will ask the crazy gals that, I have a place called Peterman's Pleasure Palace, then I'll ask all my crazy gals to go, put it on their list and this, but I stay slightly uninvolved. I mean, people can go in there with a book that is not published yet, and they can give it 1 star, which I find silly. They haven't read it, it's not even out there, So, and I think Goodreads tried to do something about it, to be fair, the trolls.
A friend of ours the other day was on her Goodreads page, and there's a link. Hey, if you don't know how to download her books for free, follow this link.
Pirate sites. Pirate sites are, please don't ever use a pirate site to buy a book, it's stealing, and that's become an enormous issue. And I think it's a bummer. That was good.
We would all be rich if we
Because I would
had
never
never
say
been
something
pirated.
much worse about pirate sites.
But that's why we donate to libraries.
Yeah.
Yes,
We donate to libraries
I
because.
love libraries. This is how I grew up.
Yep.
I grew up going to the library. My parents worked super hard, but there wasn't a lot of money for this. I would check out piles
Yep.
of books. I mean, that's how I started reading. All right.
Gotta be another question out there. So I
Yeah,
guess
come on.
that one's up.
Come on, people.
Okay.
Jody.
One
I bet
of
he's
those.
got another
Question.
question.
Question?
About
I like your overall
characters,
stuff.
like how we
Thanks.
develop characters, or if you have a
I mean, do you have
favorite
specific
character,
writing
or-
questions? Do you know, I mean, we've hit some of that kind of stuff. Let me see what I've got here. See if there's anything.
What's on our list down there?
There's so much, but it's really, really specific as far as marketing goes. Okay, here's something, but it's, I don't know, venting on social media, what we think about it.
Don't do it.
There's too much negativity. Like when you start doing your blog, guys, I don't care how you feel, and I hope that you have some friends that you can talk to and you don't need to talk about other people on Facebook. You don't need to trash anybody ever
Anybody.
on Facebook. You can feel these things, but have friends that you can physically talk to, and there's no paper trail, and it's really poor form. I would say that to anybody who wants to write. I would say that to anybody anyway. I tell it to
Yeah.
my kids, you just don't. We talked a lot about that. Do you have any strange writing habits? Do you have any release day rituals?
Yep.
Wait, go back to strange writing habits, that's
Yeah.
so fun.
Okay.
Okay. I write in sweatpants, Ugg boots, and usually t-shirts that have profane sayings on them most of the time. That's my work uniform. I either write on my back porch or my gazebo or my car. I rarely use my office. I always have Coca-Cola with rabbit turd ice.
Oh,
And-
is that a word?
Turd is fine.
Now they're gonna have to bleep you out twice.
What?
Now they're gonna have to bleep you out twice.
I don't think turd's a bad word.
Oh, now three times.
Substance turd is fine. In fact, I'm gonna say turd about 8 more times. I couldn't, okay, but, and I like silence. I write in silence. My animals can be around me, but, and that's it. I don't usually eat while I write or anything like that, and I tend to write at night. Donna, you can say turd, please.
Turd.
Okay. Everyone is gonna start this with the word turd. Okay, go ahead. I'm serious, but go ahead.
Well, I can write anywhere,
If you can.
and I've had to, as I've had a very rough few years of caregiving, and currently my mother is in ICU and has been there for 5 weeks. So this last little book I wrote from the hospital. She has a little desk in the room, and I sit at that desk and work at about, 100 words at a time, because there's always interruptions, And so I'm like bargaining with my friends, and my editor, I missed my editing deadline, and so I called Jennifer, who's got it.
Jennifer's really good.
She could be an editor because she's that sharp
Mhm.
with her. And I said, I need to call in a big favor, because I was 1 day away from my deadline, and Jennifer went
To
through
upload onto
to
Amazon.
upload, yeah, so I don't miss my
Pre-order.
pre-order. And so Jennifer, call in a favor. So but I went to school in my 30s. This is going to tell how old I am, but my kids were in middle school and high school at the time, and so in the back of me doing homework, there was always somebody yelling nerd face and geek stuff and, you know, bad words. They
He's
were-
touching me.
He's touching me.
Looking
yeah.
at me.
They would imitate South Park and Beavis and Butthead. And see, I said Butthead. How about
You
that?
did.
And, and so when I write, I can get into the zone to where people have to touch me to get me out of the zone, as my husband will tell you, because he can never get my attention. And he's like, "You were gone." And I'm like, "What time is it?" And he said, "We should have gone to bed 2 hours ago." And I was like, "Oh, sorry." You know, because I just get zoned. So that's a gift. I don't take it lightly. But I'm like Robin. My preference is for silence. I can sit at home with no noise at all.
How many years has it been since you ate food warm? Right,
Yeah.
okay. So-
There is that, yes. That's the writer's life. It's if
Yep.
you're married to a writer, it comes with the territory. Dinner's going to be late. There's going to be lots of things like that, yeah.
Turd.
Thank you.
I can write anywhere.
She can.
So you guys can be talking and I can open up my computer and I can just start writing.
So lucky.
I've realized that if I have my tennis shoes on, as stupid as it sounds,
I
if
love
I have my
this
tennis
about
shoes
you.
on,
You write faster with your tennis shoes.
I write faster with my tennis shoes on.
That's funny, I didn't know that.
Funniest thing
How did you not know that?
I didn't
She
say
said
it before.
before.
I said it before.
She has said it before. It's one of my favorite things. That she
Oh,
writes
did you
faster
know
with
that?
her
I
tennis
didn't know
shoes.
that.
You
Well,
guys
just for the
don't
record,
listen.
I'm listening.
I
to
do
the
listen.
panels, by the way. I am listening.
I didn't know that.
I don't know why. I don't know why. I don't know if it's maybe a state of mind. It's like if you're slouchy and you know, laid back, then there isn't as much pushing you to get your words down. I don't know. I put my tennis shoes on. I might have t-shirt and sweatpants on, but I have my tennis shoes on. But I've also realized that it is very beneficial to me to go somewhere to write where people are around me. I go to Panera a lot.
We also go to Panera because we
We
all
go
have
to
crappy
Panera a lot.
internet. We go to Panera, it's, we call it our
Go to
other office.
Starbucks, anywhere like that, because if I have people around me and I have my computer open, I need to feel like I'm working. So I need to be getting words down, and I need to be,
You feel like they're holding you accountable?
yes,
Silently
yes.
holding you accountable?
Exactly. If I'm scrolling
That's an
Facebook,
interesting psychological.
it's like, oh, she's just looking at Facebook. She comes to Starbucks to look at Facebook, really? I don't do that. I have my manuscript open and I'm actually typing.
I'm gonna try that
With my
this week.
tennis shoes on.
With tennis shoes? The tennis shoes or
Maybe. No, the going out and to Starbucks.
I have tried the tennis shoes, it did not work for me. I was on a deadline, and this is no lie. Jen writes faster with her tennis shoes. I put my tennis shoes on. I really was. I was trying on your theory. It did work for me. But I can write pretty much anywhere either. I wear noise canceling headphones with music.
Yeah, you can listen to music.
So, but I'm married to a composer, so he writes music for film and television. So I listen to like a lot of movie scores and a lot of classical music. I can't have words. It just has to be, I like a lot, and it depends on what I'm writing. If I'm writing like a suspense scene or a fight scene, I know exactly which composer and what I want to listen to for the day, and it really gets me in the right headspace. And if I'm writing a love scene, you know, I'll listen to more sweeping romantic music, and it sort of helps me get into that. It gets me in the zone. It gets me into what's called theta waves in your brain, and that's where you're like on a different plane, and so you're thinking. It's a meditative state basically, and that's why Bruce can't get Donna's attention because she's in that meditative state. So you know when you say you're like in the zone and you're writing, so if they put the little probes on your head, they would see that you had theta waves going on in your brain, and you're sort of like in a different world. That's the same wavelength. I've done all my research on this, but it's the same wavelength as that you're in right before you fall asleep. So you know that twilight where you kind of half awake but half asleep, and you get those great ideas, you know,
Yes,
you're like,
and if you don't write them down,
I need to
you're
write this
gone
down.
forever.
So that's being in that theta wave, and so that's what I like. That's what I go for. So, but I write at my desk mostly. I did invest in a lazy boy chair this
She
past year. I'm
did.
not gonna lie. January rolled around, everybody was buying treadmills and getting into the gym, and I was like, I have no shame on Facebook.
Explain this chair though.
I'm buying a lazy boy chair to work in because my shoulders start to hurt. I sit usually, and I'm doing it now, but I sit up very upright, but my neck and my shoulders start to hurt after a while because if you're sitting there for 5,000 words and you don't get up and move around because you're in theta wave and you're not thinking about getting up and moving around, when you finally do move, you're like, oh,
It hurt.
man.
We're all falling apart.
I have a chair that actually reclines. It's got cup holders.
Holders.
And it reclines and it heats up and it also has like 5 different
Massaging
vibration
things. I would go to
things.
sleep so fast in that chair.
I
have a
don't,
great chair.
I don't, but
She doesn't.
I'll write for a while usually at my desk, and if I'm still haven't hit my deadline and my neck hurts, I'll move to the chair and recline back and. But they have these zero gravity chairs now. I don't know if anyone has seen this.
I have not.
So for like $14,000,
Oh,
it's
okay.
this whole
No.
zero. I showed it to my husband. He was like, "Yeah, right." But it's like a zero gravity thing, and then the
And
desk
that's
is up
the
here,
thing,
and you
yeah.
get your monitor and your keyboard and the whole 9 yards. So I don't
like
know if
to
I would
try
stay
it.
awake for that. I don't know if I could stay awake for
I
that.
would not. Heather, what are your weird habits, baby?
I have absolutely zero weird habits.
You're a
That is
liar.
not true.
Liar. Wait, you didn't start your thing right. Chris, neither did you.
No.
No,
Because we
I did.
refused.
I started it exactly.
Did you say turd?
No.
They're so much more proper than the rest of us. Okay, go ahead.
Not saying it.
That's why you can't think of it.
You know, I'm more productive when I get up and shower and dress and,
Put your tennis shoes on.
but I actually, if I do, I usually put sweatpants and a sweatshirt back on, but, I found that I'm way more productive if I actually get up and.
Are you insinuating that the rest of us
No,
don't bathe?
I'm saying that
Because you'd be correct.
there are many, many days where I would much rather sit in my pajamas, have my coffee, see what's happening on social media, and 4 hours have gone by and I've done nothing. But if I get up and actually pretend I'm going to work, even though I don't leave the house, I do so much better. Which is what I'm doing every day this week,
Me too.
so that
So can I.
that Scrivener project number goes down.
Those Post-it notes are coming off the wall.
There's an author named Tara Taylor Quinn, and I will always remember this. We went to a conference, I don't know if any of you guys did, but I did. And she came in to speak, and every day, she gets up, she does her hair and makeup, and she drives to McDonald's and gets her big sippy iced tea. And she drives back home, and she goes directly into her office, which is her garage. There is no connecting door from the garage to the house.
She pretends she's
She
going
literally
She left
goes
for the
to
day.
work,
Yeah.
period.
Wow.
8 to 5, and she is there the entire time.
I don't always do that, but it does make me a little bit more productive. The one weird thing my husband is, he works in Kentucky Homeland Security, and one of the weird things I do is I text him and his boss, and ask them questions, because I write terroristic thrillers, so I will test them, give them questions all day, like, well, what happened? You know, what kind of helicopter does the governor fly? How many people can we get in that? You know, the little questions like that, and they love it. Because I'm like giving them, it's like a think tank, thinking about things that could happen, which, Kentucky's pretty safe. But
Jody, I saw your hand go up.
Yeah, I had a question. You guys talked about the creative process and
Mhm.
just get out there and just do it just right and then you go back. Okay, so when does the research come in? Because you spoke about writing about suicide and wanting to do it correctly and not to just
The
ethical.
research is all.
Yeah,
all the time.
that's a
There's-
lot
there's
of
no-
research,
yeah.
even in, yeah.
I
all of
world
us.
build, so
Yeah.
in mine, and some series I world build a lot more than others. And I also am obsessed with organized religion, and there's
Right.
a lot of mythology. There's things that would go
Mythology,
right smack over people's heads.
topographic stuff like the
it's
landscape, everything.
Constantly,
Yeah.
constantly. The Bible is a huge one because I write Satan and God and all those
Right.
things, which is why I get all the "you're going to hell."
Yeah,
But they're
yeah.
very funny. I'm funny.
You are funny.
But I would say all the,
Are you
I
doing
don't
it all the
research
time, or
before
do you
I-
start
No,
the
because
creative
I
process and then
pants,
go back?
because I pants,
Yeah.
because I write as it comes, I'll run into something and I'll go, huh, and then I'll go.
And then you'll go.
Yeah, so for me, that, as a pantser, that's how I research. If I know that there's gonna be some kind of overriding theme, like in one of the books, it was Dante's Circles of Hell,
Mhm.
but I wanted to turn it on its own ear, but I needed to really remember, cause I'd read it before,
Right.
you know, but I needed to really remember what his levels were and all that.
You
I
had to
did
go
that
back to the
before I wrote the
Inferno.
book.
Yeah.
And so, but for me, generally, it's as it comes up.
Mm-hmm.
Donna?
How about you?
I'd say the same, because I pants, Rob and I
Uh-huh.
are very similar in the way we write, as far as process, I guess you'd say, processing.
Yeah.
So it's basically, I wait till a scene comes along and I kind of know you know when you don't know
Right.
something.
Mhm.
And if you, like in the contemporary, I have to be really careful, because like Jennifer, if you're writing something really touchy, emotional, or somebody's sick, then you want to get those details right. You will hit somebody who knows more
Yes.
about that than you do. So
Yes.
you want to be respectful with the information. The other thing, though, I have to research far more is I write science fiction. And while I world build like Robin does, the sci-fi community is really tough on
Yeah,
me.
they are.
So I write cyborg series, for example. And the very first book I wrote was, I think it's like 4 years old now. The stuff that I wrote and thought I made up is actually come to pass in some regard. So I often sometimes get things and it's like, well, you know, this is now, there's this now, did you know about that? I'm like, well, there wasn't that when I wrote the book, there is now.
Butthole. You said buttholes?
But so it just depends on,
Every sentence.
it's like it varies from book to book. The kind of thrillers that Chris and Heather write, they have to write ballistic information. Like that's something I would definitely have to look up if I was
Right,
writing.
or
that.
she goes to her husband and his peers. Yeah, because
But
you'll
they're
have to
getting
stop
to
and do
where they
that.
have their own experience
Yeah, they did, they
now.
just did, they have conceal and carry, but also Jennifer was a cop. Like on a lot of things, I've asked gun stuff.
Right.
Jennifer. Yesterday, I spoke, I was talking about burner phones with all three of them. But Chris and Heather just finished, go ahead. They've gone to cop school, or what did you do?
Oh, you're talking about the Writers Police Academy?
Writers
Yeah.
Police
Yeah,
Academy.
we've both been to Writers Police Academy a couple times. We've went separately and then now, and we've also been together. And so you spend a week with Secret Service and FBI and CIA, and you do real life scenarios. We like breach buildings,
It's so
SWAT
much
team.
fun.
It is a blast.
They call it Disney World for writers.
It really is Disney
It's-
World. Well,
Where
for
is
writers
it?
like us,
Wisconsin,
I mean, you
there's
know.
one in Wisconsin, is where you guys
Currently,
went,
it's in
right?
Wisconsin.
Mhm.
They sometimes move around. Right now, I think they,
It was in Wisconsin at both times I've been.
it's
and
been in
two.
North Carolina, I think.
I think
but-
it has, but that was a great resource. I mean, and you meet people there. We both met people there that I have used and like emailed and asked a question.
So you
to.
network while you're there.
You
That's pretty
network with
good.
those people quite a
Mhm.
bit.
Yeah.
But I mean, this post-it note whiteboard lady, you know I'm researching.
Mhm.
Because I come from a journalism background.
Right.
So I'm investigating to the very end to make sure I know and then asking experts and double checking to make sure it's right. Because I can promise you, if I get something wrong,
Somebody will tell you.
someone's gonna send me an
Somebody's
email.
gonna tell
you.
Someone's
Yeah.
gonna send me an email. So I make sure that I get all of those things correct. It's really
'Cause you-
important for the story, but it's really important for me too.
Right.
To do it correctly.
But you can get lost in research. I was a
Yes.
history and English major, so when I was working, you can go down that same.
Oh, and
It is a
gets
rabbit
interesting
hole.
and
Yeah.
But I will
interesting.
tell you this, it gives you great ideas for other
the next
stories. And I'll like
Yeah.
have to crack open another new notebook and I'll be like, that's a
And a
great
post-it.
idea, you know,
Yeah.
and then you're like putting that down for a rainy
Yeah.
day to use for something else. But yeah, I mean, Heather and I both research a ton.
Yeah.
A ton of stuff. But because we have to. We just
Right.
want to get it right.
Right.
And it's important to get it right.
Pinterest is a great social media tool for saving your research.
Oh, it is.
You can go look at
Pinterest?
Pinterest. I
Not
have a
scripted.
cyborg board there where my books are in there, but also the articles that I got research from, where I got the artificial eyes, what
And
color
it
they
holds
were.
them.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just put it on a board.
I keep it.
Yeah, I also use a software called, oh my gosh, I'm gonna forget the name of it. It's got a little elephant on it. Evernote. I use Evernote.
Uh-huh.
Where I save anything I read, if it's for a future idea, I quickly save it, never know, so that I don't have to waste time writing on a Post-it. But I save articles there, and I have just different notebooks in there of all my research for various projects. The one thing I was gonna say is I research differently depending on what I'm writing.
Uh-huh.
When I wrote a book that had outlaw motorcycle gangs in it, I spent quite a bit of time way beforehand because I wasn't quite sure what I wanted this motorcycle gang to look like.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had a lot of beforehand research, and then some of my others, it's been really as I went. Yeah, I've actually found things, by talking to people.
Yeah, finding sources.
You can find people to tell you things like that.
Yeah.
And here's my rule about things like Chris is talking about is if I can now go and find it on the internet, I might not have found it before.
Right.
But now that someone's put that in my head, that exists and happens, I'm gonna go see if I can find it on the internet. If I can, then whatever they said I can't put in there.
The gloves are off.
Gloves are
Right.
off, anyone
'Cause
can
it's
find
already
that
out there.
information.
But yeah, but like even from like a journalist, and that kind of comes back from my journalism background,
Mhm.
talking to you find that source and then get the information and move from there, so.
But you can get lost in the research.
Yeah,
You
I think you
And, you don't need to know what your payload is for a Super Stallion helicopter, but for my,
72,500 pounds.
Are you talking
I could have
about-
told him that, but.
I have a question.
Wrap this up, wrap this up. He has a question.
What's your question?
First of all, we will redact that part so that your source is safe.
Okay.
So when you're writing characters here, and I hear this a lot with actors that have to take on, let's say, a horrific person, and they have to find empathy with this character. How hard is that when you're writing a villain or somebody who is, obstructing the story, the characters there, to find some element of writing it so you're not just like, this person is the worst and that's the end of it, but instead you say, I can write from somewhere within that person and empathize as a writer with them.
Well,
So like method writing instead of method acting?
a two-dimensional bad guy is as uninteresting, two-dimensional written bad guy is as uninteresting as a two-dimensional acting bad guy. So unless look, I don't think comedy is funny without pathos. I don't think evil is remotely interesting without some good thrown in. So that's the way I think of it. I would have rather, during my career as an actor, I liked playing bad people, weird people. That was far more challenging than, hero, heroine kind of stuff. So for me, writing, there's usually something tragic, or if they're a main character, if they're a reason to get something done, different. But if it's a main character, if you don't write something multifaceted, you're really not gonna go very far with it. So I make sure, and I do that even with evil situations, that it's a little bit blurry. Black and white is very uninteresting. Gray is interesting to me.
And bad guys are the heroes of their story. So you just have to tell their story. And
If
so-
it's from their point of
If
view,
it's-
yeah.
yeah, and the more interesting, the more empathetic you make your bad guy, the more the hero then heroine has to step up. And so that, to me, increases the conflict when your bad guy is multidimensional. I like that word.
I also think dialogue, as opposed to any kind of telling. Dialogue and the way people say something can create an entire feeling in one freaking line that can change someone from pure evil to something else. If it's said with self-deprecation or some kind of unsure
Some kind of glimmer of humanity.
glimmer of humanity. That's a good way to put it. Jen?
I can write bad guys fairly easily. I mean, I've seen many, many bad guys. So that isn't as hard to me as writing somebody with a disability. So I kind of have to put myself in the same headspace for that, because I have no idea, this guy going through 37 surgeries to get the scars fixed on his face, and I can't imagine that. I can't imagine walking with a prosthetic. So there's a lot of places that you have to go besides being just a bad guy, and you just have to immerse yourself in it and try to figure out you know, when I get the notes from wives, you know, saying, oh my God, it's like, I can't believe you wrote this down, because this is exactly how my husband is. That's the stuff, that's more reaffirming to me than anything in the world, so.
I write really bad guys. Like, my bad guys are bad, especially like in this last series. I don't know that there's a glimmer of hope or anything in some of them,
It
because.
doesn't even have to be hope, but is there a dichotomy that makes them?
I mean, it's just pure evil. So, I mean, I don't want to say too much because I can't
Yeah,
give
no,
away
no.
too
But
much.
what
of-
about Jane herself? I mean.
Oh, you're talking about my heroine. Yeah, she's.
She rides the line.
Yeah, she's an interesting cat for sure. So she grows up in a foster home. So she's been tossed from foster home to foster home. So this is a person who's grown up with really no sense of feeling whatsoever. Anytime when she was a child, she started to feel something. It got shut down pretty quickly so she learned early on that it was better just to shut that part of her life off. So she really she's a machine. So if you could think of someone
But
who
you
was,
gave a reason for her, that's the point, like, that's the glimmer of hope there. You give a reason for her to have become.
It's making her
like
really
this.
sympathetic to the
You know what I
readers.
mean?
Yeah, I
feel
mean,
sorry for her.
you
Yeah.
do, and I give instances, and she has flashbacks as a child, and I did research and talk to foster kids and found out what some of their most horrible stories were, and they're in this book. And so things that have that happened to my character have actually happened to people, which is terrible if you think about it. So, but it really dehumanized part of her. And that's the part of her that allows her to be a killing machine, where she takes an order and does her job. And like the opening of book 1, she's just killed a guy and she's left him in the men's bathroom at this greasy road stop gas station. And she's in the convenience store buying a corn dog. Because she's very disconnected from what she's just done, because that was her job. So, you know, but those are the kind of characters that are interesting to get into their headspace and think about, you know, if I felt this way, how would I react to it? And then what are the interesting characteristics of that person? You know, she has very few friends. She doesn't trust anybody. She's not in a relationship. She uses men for sex, and that's it, because she doesn't want to have any sort of ties to anyone, because relationships to her are about pain, and, you know, she doesn't want any more of that in her life. So she's trying to take control of her life, and this is how she does it. So, you know, and she's the good guy. She's the good person in the books. So you could imagine what the bad guys are really like. Now, there's some good people in the book too that, you know.
We have 1.5 minutes left of this talk. Heather, answer the question.
One of my favorite characters I've written so far is a guy we call Romeo, and he is throughout this, well, so far the entire series that I'm writing right now, and I'm writing book 5. And it's the emails I get about these books, even though they love the hero and the heroine, the emails I'm getting are about Romeo. Who is Romeo? We need to know more. And I just let out a little piece, a little bit of his backstory in every book I've written. And we're finally gonna get to see who he is in book 5.
Is he a bad guy?
Yes, he's a bad guy. He's stalking my
People
main
love the
character.
bad guy
And
now.
he's just,
They really
he's a bad guy. He has some bad things happen that's made him do some things that he's doing. And he's a very interesting character. And I've had fun just kind of developing him throughout the series. So, I mean, and getting inside his head and figuring out his backstory has been fabulous.
Yeah, I mean, why do any of us do the things that we do? We're all a product of the life that we've led and the
When you're
travels that we've
wronged,
had.
you know, what we
You know,
do.
our parents, if you go to a therapist, you know, well, you know, your mother or your father or whatever, so, you're gonna have to cut that part out too, good Lord. But yeah, so it's, you know, we're just all a product of, and you know what? It's very reflective in the things that we write too.
Yes.
Because, you know, just like Robin said, you know, you don't really know me. You really know if you read our books, you really do kind of know us.
Oh,
There's a
sure.
little piece of
Sure,
all
sure,
of
sure.
us
Yep.
in all of our books. You know, I was a widow at 31. My very first book, Sex, Lies, and Sweet Tea, she's a widow. Because I know that life. It was really easy for me to write a young widow with a child who was like getting back out into the world again. I knew that life. It was easy for me to write that.
I am a vampire. And, no, kidding. No, and that's why it's easy. No, so, thank you guys. What we do have, but there, so few of you, I don't think we'll do a full setup of anything, but we have books for sale if anybody wants to look at them, and if not, thank you. And did everybody get a copy of the anthology? If you didn't, please come up and get them. We'd be happy to sign them. Jody, I'm glad we sat together at that lacrosse game. This is why we're here. Her sons coached my son in a summer travel league, and they were great young men. And Jody was like, I'm a librarian. I'm like, I'm a writer. She's like, oh my God, why do you write? And so that's how all of this happened. And Seth, thank you. This has been a pleasure. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. We don't get to be together that much, so we enjoy this because everybody's lives are so busy. Right. Keep reading. Right. Bruce, keep that food warm. Jody, yes. All right, so we can, if you give us a couple minutes, we can, is anybody interested in buying books? Because honestly, we don't have to take them out of here. Okay, so we'll bring out some books. And again, do you guys, anybody else want to add anything? Because we're,
Thank you for coming.
yeah.
Big round of applause.
Yeah, you guys are great.